There was a conference on meritocracy in China, comparing India and China. Now, you would think that the Indians would be very proud that we have IITs as a meritocracy, we've created a whole middle class based on meritocracy. The Chinese were very proud. The Chinese talked about how the old system of China based on meritocracy is building a great China. The Indian professors who organized this from Harvard, Indian professors, brought some of the negative people from India also to involve. Their whole participation on the Indian idea of meritocracy was that meritocracy is caste oppression. Meritocracy means that certain people are oppressing other people, and that is not true meritocracy. Making it even worse than that, they are bringing these campuses to India. The campuses to India, the UGC has said, have no restrictions. Indian universities have to get clearance on every course you offer, but the foreign universities coming can teach anything. Indian universities have pay grades for professors, then tuition reasonableness, all these kind of things are scrutinized by the government to make sure that it follows some standards. But foreign universities have been allowed to hire anybody they want at any salary they want and no controls on tuitions. 2001, 9/11 jo hua tha, so all of them were scared, running around Muslims in America. Now they are at the top, they are getting seats, and they are taking over CNN, they are taking over the Democratic Party, they are all, in 20 years, kitni strategy hai unki? Kitni strategy? How they've used American guilt, educated them, worked on the young people, funded Saudi funding, a lot of Saudi funding. So how they have manipulated the American mind and created a power base right inside America. Imagine, they've done that. The idea of shift in identity is very important to the Westerners because Westerners want identity. Because Christianity and Judaism में identity बहुत होती है. You are a member. आप किसी चर्च के मेंबर होते हैं, जैसे कोई यहाँ क्लब होता है ना, तो चर्च के मेंबर बनना पड़ता है, तो आपका नाम लिखा होता है. So you are a member of an organization, so you have the collective support of a group. They are into group. We are more into individual. आप गए किसी को, you don't know anybody else in the mandir, आप गए अपनी पूजा किया, आ गए, right? Many people go to some mandir here and there, and they don't, there is no sense of this mandir is a community, we're all together, how many thousand people there are, members हैं, उनका कोई group होना चाहिए. That group mentality is not there in us. So we do not have our own dharma GPT or some kind of a भारतीय GPT जो हमारा प्लेटफॉर्म है, जो हम ट्रेन करेंगे और वही हमारे वॉइस को एम्पलीफाई करेगा, multiply, it will be a force multiplier of our thinking. We don't have that. So my big concern about India's AI policy is that we have got one of the world's largest groups number numerically of AI trained engineers. We have a lot of them, and we have them very brilliant ones, but the technology they're developing is not Indian owned.
Good morning, sir. My name is Rohan Gujar. I would like to ask, Western definition of social disabilities are causing hegemony on Indian ideologies, resulting in various combinations of intersectionality, for example, caste and race. In this context, I have two questions for you. First, does it pave avenues for China to use the relative deprivation that it is causing, as a new warfare means, making it deadliest weapon of all time? Will the history repeat itself as it did latently during the British era, and by manifesting this in future, causing threat to internal security of India?
So let me answer this, because you have a second question also?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me answer the first one. Yep. It's a very good question. What he's saying is that this Americanization of Indian social sciences and in bringing all these new laws, which America is pressuring us, EU is pressuring us, all these countries are pressuring us, and our own people foolishly are accepting it because we think those Goras know better and we'll do salam to them and they'll be good for us, and many of our people are sold out also. The question he's asking is, when we bring this kind of way of breaking up our society, which is why I call it Breaking India 2.0, then is China going to get the benefit of it? The answer is absolutely yes. China is so smart. China is actually breaking America using these strategies. China is supporting on TikTok, for example. They're supporting, the US knows it, they have put some restrictions, they haven't fully banned it. The export of TikTok to American youth contains all these kind of divisive and these kind of topics. But the TikTok platform in China does not allow these things. They allow positive things, developmental things, good ideas. So the TikTok content in Chinese is for one kind of objective, but the TikTok for Americans and other people is for breaking them down and creating divisiveness and all this bhed. So that is just one example. But the Chinese are so smart, the Chinese collaborated with the American Ivy Leagues, and then they realized some years back that they want to stop everything to do with humanities and social sciences. They only want to collaborate on STEM, science, technology, engineering, medicine, these kind of things, because they need technology to develop, and they want to buy technology, steal technology, beg, borrow, steal technology from Americans no matter how, and get ahead, which they are doing very well. But they do not want Americans to tell their youth about Chinese history, Chinese culture, Chinese politics, Chinese the problem with the Uyghur Muslims or the issues about Tibet, or they don't want any interference on those matters. When it comes to India, China is encouraging this type of breaking India discourse. They have centers in Ashoka. Ashoka is a major center, Ashoka University, major center of China studies, which is infiltrated in this way. The Chinese studies have also been encouraging, Chinese people have also been encouraging Harvard in their study of India. For example, there was a conference on meritocracy in China, comparing India and China. Now, you would think that the Indians would be very proud that we have IITs as a meritocracy, we've created a whole middle class based on meritocracy. The Chinese were very proud. The Chinese talked about how the old system of China based on meritocracy is building a great China. The Indian professors who organized this from Harvard, Indian professors, brought some of the negative people from India also to involve. Their whole participation on the Indian idea of meritocracy was that meritocracy is caste oppression. Meritocracy means that certain people are oppressing other people, and that is not true meritocracy. So in an international forum, our people are insulting and criticizing and undermining our position. Chinese are very proud of themselves. So China is like that, very clear. Chinese industrialists go and fund Harvard also, but they fund it differently. They fund it for patriotic reasons and with a proper spin. Chinese students, when they go to Harvard and all these other American and British universities, they're going mainly for science, technology, engineering, medicine, these kind of things. They are not going to study Chinese history there because they don't think Westerners should teach them Chinese history. Our people, some of them go for STEM, but a lot of them go and do a study of human rights or what's happening in some Rajasthani village, women are not being treated, or some place somewhere, the Rohingyas. Our people going to Westerners to study these problems about us, as if those people should be the authority, the adhikaris. This is a serious problem. Yes, I agree with you.
The second question is, sir, since this is an very devastating situation, taking in consideration that we have a huge youth and a good demographic dividend, would you like to suggest something that would help in countering such issues or the future that in the Amrit Kal, for example?
Okay, so what should we do about it? So there are things that government has to do, which I'm disappointed. The government is only reacting. I've had meetings with some of the top people in Delhi in the last few days. I've been there for 3 weeks. And I feel that they are very defensive कि हमको आता है, हमको पता है, हमको मालूम है, हम कर रहे हैं, सब कुछ हो रहा है. But my main question was, when you react to BBC ने रिपोर्ट निकाली, Wall Street Journal ने रिपोर्ट निकाली, किसी ने Seattle ने they passed a resolution condemning Hindu caste and all that. Seattle, what they have to do with this, they passed it, and many others are doing it. When you react, did you anticipate or are you surprised? If you are surprised, then it means you do not have a think tank. That is what we have been doing, anticipating and writing books. Years before these things happen, we are writing books. But you do not have people in the government who are able to understand this before it happens. After there is a fire, then of course you send the fire brigade to put it out. But you are not able to anticipate. You do not have models. You are not doing enough purva paksha or study of the other side. And then they are quiet. I tell them, have you anticipated these things? Are you now able to anticipate what's going to happen in the next 3 months, 6 months, 5 years? Are you able to anticipate that? And the point is they are not. So our government needs to shape up and understand these things better. Second thing is, it's not so easy to say that. When I ask them, why aren't you doing it? They're saying that we are a secular country, we're an open country, and even the civil service and the government officials are so much, some of them are so mixed up in this respect. They're not really patriotic. They are mixed up in this respect. अब उनको कैसे निकालें? नहीं निकाल सकते. क्या करें? This is a problem. I gave a lecture at the Foreign Service Institute, where they train IFS officers. I've done it 3 times. And every time I talk about, here is the grand narrative that you, the diplomats, are going to represent. And it's like marketing people represent the company's product. Yeah, so this is the company's, these are India's, narrative you are representing. Half the group love it. Every time I go, they love it. They say, हमको ऐसे किसी ने कभी बताया नहीं. This is great. We wish it were part of our education system. The other half don't like it. So many people stand up and say, young people stand up and say, I'm from such and such community in this northeast, or I'm a community from this community in Chhattisgarh, wherever, and I don't believe in this Indian narrative. My community has been oppressed. There are people like that. And they are the diplomats who are going to represent India. So imagine there is no screening. We don't have ideological screening. The UPSC exam is full of people, studies of scholars that I consider to be completely anti-India. And unko padh ke exam dekar you have to pass. So the type of syllabus, the type of curriculum that they are teaching is not very good for us. I am so grateful to Avinash, so appreciative that he has the courage to say that okay, nation first, Rashtra first. Okay, career is good, you can get exam karke pass kar denge. But what about your character? Thank you, Ji. What about your character? You have to also live for the next many, many decades. You have to be proud of who you are. Let me tell you, if you are suffering from a deep inferiority complex about who you are, you will not do that well. Because one of the things I learned living in the United States and working with cultures all over the world, I worked with the Japanese, I worked with the Chinese, I worked with the French and all these people, I found that Indians lack enough confidence. There's too much inferiority complex when it comes to culture. And the other people know how to bring you down. वो एक दो बातें बोलेंगे और आप चुप हो जाएंगे, आपको शर्म आ जाएगी. They know कि उनसे ये बात कहेंगे तो वो डर के मारे भाग जाएंगे, or they will lose. They will admit defeat because they don't want to face it. They know how to bring you down, and Indians do not have the wherewithal and the training to talk back and fight back, which is what we are trying to do. There's one little book we have launched called Varna Jati Caste. है आगे पीछे 150 पेज की है. It is a primer toolkit for us to talk back. It is a toolkit for our people like you. It's very inexpensive, very small, but if you read it, you will know कि वो लोग क्या कहेंगे और आपको कैसे जवाब देना चाहिए. This is a very important thing that we are trying to bring about. हमारे education system ने नहीं किया ये. So one of the things to do is all this government has to fix the education system, NCRT, UPSC exam, get rid of all these foreign consultants. Why not Indian consultants? Why not? हमारा problem है तो उनको क्या? Why are we always looking at them to solve our problems? So एक तो top down that. Another is industry. People in industry using Western indexes to measure ourselves. There is a Western happiness index. उन्होंने index लगा रखे on happiness. How do they know what is happiness? Why can't we have our happiness index? Or index on poverty. What is poverty according to them? It is not a simple matter of consumption. It is not a simple matter of consumption. If you were to look at per capita consumption, then Gandhi was a poor man and he would be considered below the poverty line because he consumed very little. My grandparents were also living very simple life. घर में गाय थी, घर में ही खाना बनाते, वो grow करते थे. Their consumption from the shops, from the market is very low. So they would be considered poor people, but they're very intelligent, highly educated people, very happy people. So this business of consumerism as a measure of who's poor and who's not is also a kind of Western concept. So we cannot blindly use their indexes. And this index of environment, social justice and governance is also one of those, and it's become very fashionable and very popular throughout India's economy now. सब लोग ये foreign consultants को बुलाकर, and they are creating this in the HR department. They are measuring the ESG और अपने आप को modify कर रहे हैं according to the model of the West. Now let's talk about bottom up, because top down तो जो सरकारी लोग हैं, जो ये मीडिया लोग हैं, जो इंडस्ट्री लोग हैं, उनके हाथ में है. बट व्हाट अबाउट बॉटम अप फॉर पीपल लाइक यू? सो पीपल लाइक यू, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, यू कैन नॉट प्रोजेक्ट सोशली व्हाट यू डोंट हैव इंटरनली योरसेल्फ. यू मस्ट बी द चेंज योरसेल्फ. आपके अंदर थ्रू साधना, थ्रू मेडिटेशन, थ्रू जागृति, you have to, our tradition has got so many resources that build character. आपके अंदर क्या कैरेक्टर होना चाहिए? This institution, I'm amazed at what the priorities are of this institution. Because I tell you, I'm a product of St. Stephen's College, but I will tell you there's zero given on a character. All my life I've raised in Delhi, I never came across an institution focusing on building a person, one person at a time from inside. आप अंदर से develop हो गए, तो nobody can take you on, nobody can bring you down. You will have the strength inside you. So एक तो you have to, best thing you can do is first build your own self as a solid character, solid citizen, and then second part is be vocal and brave and have that kshatriyata to speak out and be well educated with facts, and then speak out, become a spokesperson. And we would like to get involved in training such people. So I think top down we are putting pressure on government policy makers, lobbying कि भी आप कुछ करो, धीरे धीरे हो रहा है. And bottom up we want to reach out to the public on a large scale that every individual can do something.
Namaste sir, my name is Madhura Joshi. So as you were talking about our educational curriculum, so my question is related to that. According to new education policy, foreign universities are now allowed to set up their campuses in Indian shores. They are telling it is only for flexible regulatory environment. But are we doing it for only that reason, or are we inviting enemies by ourselves?
I'm very impressed by the sharpness of your students here. This is a very important question. Government of India people don't know this, that you have raised this issue. The NEP has good things in it. It has lot of emphasis कि STEM education होनी चाहिए, ये वो बहुत अच्छा भी है. But their policy on liberal arts is opening the floodgates for people like Harvard to come and teach their ideology. Floodgates opening. In all the IITs, IIMs and everywhere and various universities, they are bringing in liberal arts, social sciences, humanities, and these professors are either Americans or Indians who are trained by Americans. Now, making it even worse than that, they are bringing these campuses to India. The campuses to India, the UGC has said, have no restrictions. Indian universities have to get clearance on every course you offer. But the foreign universities coming can teach anything. Indian universities have pay grades for professors. Then tuition reasonableness. All these kind of things are scrutinized by the government to make sure that it follows some standards. But foreign universities have been allowed to hire anybody they want at any salary they want and no controls on tuitions. So what will happen is, because these people, the foreign university got a brand name and Indians go chasing brand name कि भी फलानी यूनिवर्सिटी का है तो ब्रांड नेम अच्छा होगा, जॉब मिल जाएगी, शादी हो जाएगी, मैट्रिमोनियल वैल्यू भी बढ़ जाती है, all of that. Social media में मेरी value बढ़ जाएगी, like that. So because Indians are craving for this white man thappa, so what will happen is the foreign universities will bring in their ideology, जिनको हम लड़ाई कर रहे हैं पिछले 30 साल से, वो यहाँ आ जाएंगे. And then they will bring in the same professors that have been creating rubbish in nonsense, उनको यहाँ ले आएंगे. and by paying higher salaries, they will suck it, the best people, they will bring from all the Indian universities, they will deplete the Indian universities. Many Indian universities have vacancies of faculty they can't hire, they can't find good people. So the bringing these foreign people here will give unfair competition, unfair treatment to the foreign universities compared to the Indian universities. Indian universities have got rules, so it's not a level playing field. At the very least, you should say that the rules will be the same. Whatever the rules are for Indian universities, you will apply to the American universities. You want to come and set up a factory here, you got to go by Indian laws. You can't have environmental laws, labor laws, which are different for the foreign people. So similarly for universities, if you want to allow them. That's one change they should make. Second change, they should say that for the first 5 years, we will watch you and you should teach STEM. Teach science, technology, engineering, these kind of things, medicine, because India needs that knowledge. But we don't want to have you come here and teach Indian history and ancient history and Indian, social justice and ye wo caste system, because that's our problem, we know better. Why do you have to come and teach that? There should be some restrictions on what they can teach and what they cannot teach. And then it should be a renewal. It should be every 2-3 years you have to be renewed. Your permission has to be renewed. These precautions are being considered after our feedback. We launched this book in September or something like that. जब launch की थी तो हमने ऐसा काफ़ी बार बोला. And this time I've come back, they've said, yeah, we are going to, one very important person who I can't name, but very powerful person, he says, NEP वालों ने जो कुछ भी लिखा, but we will not let certain things happen. We will kind of stop it or change it. So this means that people like you and us, when we raise information, when we raise hell, when it goes public, कि भी लोग ऐसे कह रहे हैं, it has an effect. The authorities do listen. So thank you for this.
Namaste, sir. I am Saurabh. So my question is, in one of your talks, you said that Dalai Lama, Islam and African American community, they actually succeeded in creating protection and influence around them. So how India can do that? Because India have whatever we talk is external opposition, but we have a very serious internal opposition also to these thoughts here. For example, in your one talk, I saw that when you are discussing about Sanskrit, the question was about Tamil. So if your is Sanskrit is going to digest Tamils. So how to face these internal issues in India?
I'm very glad you are watched my videos very carefully, and I'm so happy. So ये जो कह रहे हैं, I have mentioned that one role model for protecting is Dalai Lama's. It is use of soft power. He doesn't have any weapons or hard power, तो नहीं है. So how successfully he has gone over the world and built a sympathy for the Tibetan cause, even though China has been sitting on it then for generations, the Tibetan movement is alive. I work with the Tibetan movement in New Jersey, New York. उनका जो celebration होता है, Chinese consulate के सामने न्यूयॉर्क में वो पार्क लेकर हजारों Tibetans आ जाते हैं. I give a speech there, and a very big event. Tibetans are proud of them. They don't care. And they will not eat Chinese food and things like that. They will not work in a Chinese employment. Very proud of that. So the Dalai Lama has kept that going. Now I don't know what will happen after Dalai Lama. That is very sad, because the people who were the topmost in the Tibetan movement in India, government for some reason has not treated them well, or they feel not treated well. They've left India. So this is very sad, because what will happen after the Dalai Lama, who's going to continue this, is not clear. And if the Tibetan movement here is very important for India's relationship with China, because it's a solid response. We can say कि आप ये करोगे तो हम भी कुछ कर सकते हैं. Okay, तो ये तो इंडिया को करना चाहिए कि we have to look after the Tibetan movement after the Dalai Lama and bring some of the top leaders back to India. This is one model of how a small, without physical power, community can globalize its strength through an intellectual and through spiritual means. The other model is how the blacks have become very powerful using different means, using political power and tough talk. And the Muslims have become very powerful also. You in 2001, 9/11 जब हुआ था, so all of them were scared, running around Muslims in America. Now they are at the top. They are getting seats, and they are taking over CNN. They are taking over the Democratic Party. They are all in 20 years. They've कितनी strategy है उनकी, कितनी strategy है, how they've used American guilt, educated them, worked on the young people, funded Saudi funding, a lot of Saudi funding. So how they have manipulated the American mind and created a power base right inside America. Imagine, they've done that. So the question is, what do? We don't have the kind of ambassador like a Dalai Lama. We haven't. The gurus could have done it, but the gurus are very narrow in their scope. The Dalai Lama is not only teaching meditation and not only teaching the rituals, but he's got political ideology, he's got social ideology, he can go to any major international forum and speak very powerfully. He's got a lot of following. So हमारे जो guru लोग हैं, their following is more very narrow scope of involvement, not this kind of a big involvement. Our gurus could have done it. They have a clout, but haven't used it. The idea of following the black toughness won't work for us because our people are not geared like that. Or Islam, it won't work for us. That kind of a tough talk and hard power, won't work for us. So we have to find a way that we can create a strong position for Vedic civilization globally. After all, we are the people who exported vegetarianism, which is very popular. We sent out yoga, very popular, but most of the yoga teachers are whites in America. Most of the yoga teachers are whites. Most of the yoga centers are owned by white people. हमारे लोगों ने नहीं किया. हमारे लोगों ने ये काम इतना नहीं किया. उन लोगों ने कर लिया. Meditation is being now distorted and digested into neuroscience and Christian meditation and things like that. हमने जो उनको सिखाया वो उन्होंने लेकर उसको बदल दिया. So we do not. This is the job of the culture ministry to think strategy. To have every embassy has a cultural attaché. उसका काम ये होना चाहिए. But they are doing यहाँ पर डांस भंगड़ा ये वो फलाना हो गया. They are doing art, which is good. Art is also an important part of culture. But they are not looking at these particular issues of culture, cultural representation. We have something in the Ministry of External Affairs called ICCR, Indian Council of Cultural Relations. Vinay Sahasrabudhe is the head of that. It is minister level position. And they have the money, they have the clout, they own the Nehru centers, they have a lot of, but wo bhi lightweight kaam ho raha hai. They are not doing, we are doing as individuals doing a lot more than they are able to do without, despite having so much government backing. So ये तो सोचने की बात है कि people who got resources are not doing this function properly, and people like us who are doing this, we don't have any resources. हम तो अपने पैसे से अपने जेब से कर रहे हैं जितना भी कर सकते हैं. So there is a mismatch between where is the authority and resources given versus where is the actual work coming from. वो अलग है. जो काम कर रहे हैं वो अलग हैं, और जिनको authority दी हुई है, सरकारी authority दी हुई है, resources हैं, वो अलग हैं. This is a mismatch.
My question was a continuation of his. You partially answered it, but I'm just reiterating. The gurus, you said they're not doing very much of a good job, but there are a few institutions like Art of Living, Ramakrishna Mission, ISKCON. They do have a global presence. So in your opinion, how good a job are they doing of defending Bharatiya civilization, and what are the threats that they face?
Good point. So I have followed the gurus. I'm very fond of gurus. I'm in fact writing a book on, one of my unpublished books is on the important gurus' influence on the West. From Osho and Swami Sachidanand and Muktanand and, Prabhupada and Maharishi. I have known many of these gurus. I benefited from them. I'm very fond of them. Now, what has happened is that in the 60s, Dalai Lama went and converted people into Buddhism, and these white people who are Buddhists have been very loyal to him. Very loyal to him. The Hindu gurus went, taught them techniques but not change in identity. Taught them techniques कि आप मंत्र बोलो, आप vegetarian बन जाओ, आप योग करो, ये meditation करो, but they did not sort of make them Hindus per se by identity. They did not do what the Christians call conversion. Buddhists did conversion कि आपको अब now from now on you are part of the Buddhist Sangh. आप Buddhist Sangh के member बन गए. So this idea of shift in identity is very important to the Westerners because Westerners want identity. Because Christianity and Judaism में identity बहुत होती है. You are a member. आप किसी चर्च के मेंबर होते हैं, जैसे कोई यहाँ क्लब होता है ना, तो चर्च के मेंबर बनना पड़ता है, तो आपका नाम लिखा होता है. तो so you are a member of an organization, so you have the collective support of a group. They are into group. We are more into individual. आप गए किसी को, you don't know anybody else in the मंदिर, आप गए अपनी पूजा किया आ गए, right? Many people go to some mandir here and there, and they don't. There is no sense of okay, this mandir is a community. We're all together. How many thousand people there are? Members हैं, उनका कोई group होना चाहिए. That group mentality is not there in us. So we did not take the white followers in the 60s were outnumbered. Were so many that the Christians were scared that Hinduism is taking over. But what happened is our gurus did not understand the American mind, American social need for groups, and did not say that we are going to create groups out of you. The only person who tried was Osho, and you know what happened to Osho. You know, he tried to make a group out of these people. So even though Art of Living is teaching, हम आपको प्राणायाम सिखा देंगे, but there is no change in identity. The person is whoever he is doing whatever his life is. He could be of any religion, anything, and he just learns how to do some breathing and he's better. That is not the same thing, you see. Prabhupada tried making an organization where you change your clothes, you wear different clothes, you change your name, you shave your hair, all that stuff you do. And as long as Prabhupada was alive, they were very loyal to him. Politically, socially, culturally, they were very loyal to him. After he died, there was no continuity of institution. It was taken over by various people. ISKCON is broken into many small ISKCONs. I don't know if you know this, but ISKCON has got infighting. A lot of different groups of ISKCON have created. So I would say Sadhguru and our Ramakrishna Mission and Chinmaya Mission, I know all these people. They are not wanting to, Mata Amritaranand Mai, they are not wanting to get into representing controversial issues. जो हम कर रहे हैं वो उनका काम है. I am fighting this battle in Seattle where they are saying that Hinduism from Vedic times is caste abuses, which like racism, the laws should be applied to ban all this. There was a conference called Dismantling Hindutva. इनमें हमारे गुरु ने आवाज़ नहीं निकाली. This is very strange. हमारे गुरु ने आवाज़ नहीं निकाली. जहाँ पर कुरुक्षेत्र में लड़ाई हो रही है वहाँ तो वो जाते नहीं, पीछे बैठ के जो भी बोले. But you have to, you know, a Kshatriya has to face where the fight is. He can't just sit in the VIP room and talk like that. So I think our gurus, where are they on CNN when there's a fight going on and a debate going on? Where are they when there's a petition, law being passed somewhere in EU or BBC has come out? Where are the gurus in terms of making a big voice? They have authority. Unki baat manenge. If I go to CNN and say, I want to talk, they'll say, who are you? How are you? You represent yourself. But if Shri Shri said, or Jaggi Vasudev called up and said, कि जो आपने ये टॉक किया था, जो आप ये सीरीज कर रहे हैं, जो आप और नेटफ्लिक्स को बोले कि जो आप ये कर रहे हैं, ये दिस अगेंस्ट माई फेथ एंड आई वांट टू राइट टू कम एंड स्पीक, they will not refuse. But these people are not interested because they have to pay the price. They have to pay the price of sticking their neck out. ये बात है. Are they willing to stick their neck out? It's okay. आपस में तो बोलना तो बहुत सब लोग शेर बन जाते हैं. But you have to get out and face the world. The way I'm facing the world, why aren't they able to face the world? They've got so much money, so many lakhs of millions of people following them. They've got the adhikar of the government. Government ने उनको पद्मा विभूषण तरह क्या-क्या दे दिया है. तो उनको और क्या चाहिए? And they have nothing to lose. Nobody can go after them. They're as important, iconic figures as Pope. Pope makes political policies. Pope issue, Vatican issues statements like this particular place में वो caste abuse हो रहा है. It is none of his business. Our gurus don't say कि वहाँ पर वो चाइना में वो हो रहा है या USA में racism हो रहा है. Our gurus are not trying to become global thinkers of a social political kind. So we have abandoned that role. Now, a follow-up question somebody could ask. Shashi Tharoor has said in his book, Why I Am a Hindu, that Hindu is not supposed to get involved in politics. Shashi Tharoor has said this. I have talked to Shashi Tharoor many times and said, I want to express my views, but only in public, in front of camera. Please come. वो नहीं आते. Because he knows, he's heard enough times of what I will say. When he says that the difference between Hindu and Hindutva is political, वो हम reject कर रहे हैं और Hindu हमको accept कर रहे हैं, because Hindu is a person जो अपनी पूजा करता है और meditation करता है, but he does not mind, he minds his own business. वो बाकी यहाँ वहाँ कुछ बात नहीं करता. He doesn't go publicly saying anything. This is his idea. So what I offered to I challenged him is, then you mean Sri Krishna is not a Hindu, because he's asking people to go in the Kurukshetra. You have to take your dharma into the Kurukshetra. So you have to take a stand. There is right, there is dharma and adharma. You can't say sab kuch same hi hai. There is dharma and adharma, otherwise why do you have a Kurukshetra? So the whole teaching of Mahabharata is about taking a social stand, political stand, even violence required. So you can't say that is not part of Hinduism. Similarly, Ramayana, so Bhagwan has to come to fight the negative forces. So in both cases of the Itihas, Bhagwan comes as Ram, Bhagwan comes as Sri Krishna in order to do this thing which Shashi Tharoor says हम हिंदुओं को नहीं करनी चाहिए. तो यदि हिंदुओं को नहीं करनी चाहिए तो फिर आप राम को क्या कहेंगे, आप श्री कृष्ण को क्या कहेंगे? And if you delete Itihas from Hindu literature, then what have you done? You've deleted a large part of Hindu literature. And then also, what is Dharma Shastra for? It is all social political activism. What is Artha Shastra for? It is political, governance, economic, all of that. So I don't believe in this thinking that some of our people have, like when you go to Chinmay Mission, they will say कि ये तो public की policy की बात है, हम तो आपको meditation सिखा देंगे, आपको पूजा सिखा देंगे, but ये काम नहीं करना. ये मल्होत्रा जी आएंगे, राजीव मल्होत्रा जी आएंगे तो बहुत controversy हो जाएगी, उनको मत बुलाओ. They talk like this. They talk like this. And so I remember in 15 years ago in Washington, the Swamiji who runs Washington, Maryland, Virginia, 3 states, he's in charge. So he says कि, I used to launch my books there, and then लोगों ने किसी ने हमारे जो opponent है उन्होंने किसी ने कह दिया होगा. So this Swamiji is always very concerned about risk and about कि लोग क्या कहेंगे. So then when one of my books was coming out, a lot of Chinmay Mission people loved my work and they bring me to give speeches, talks and teach their children. So the Swamiji said कि नहीं वो बहुत controversy है, उनको नहीं आना चाहिए. So then somebody said, why this is all part of Hindu Dharma, why are you restricting? So he says, no, we are only going to teach what was written in Gita and Upanishad. वही सिखाएंगे बस, भगवद गीता और उपनिषद के अलावा कुछ नहीं सिखाएंगे. So then these people who are very senior in the Chinmay Mission, they're funding a lot of money, giving them a lot of money, in the Hindu people believing it, called me and said, क्या किया जाए? So I said, listen, it is your matter, your internal affair. हम interfere नहीं कर सकते. हम interfere करेंगे, it will be an outsider. You have to sort it out. So you make a list of what are the things that I teach and ask Swamiji to teach those things. So they made a group of 10 or 15 of these Bal Vihar teachers, the parents who are Bal Vihar teachers, and they had their own discussion and they came up with a list of questions which their children face in school. They face questions like आपकी mother, the women को insult किया जाता है आपके culture में. They tell them questions like, why are you worshipping this elephant? Why your mother got this dot? All this kind of fun they make. So they sent all kind of questions about social, political action matters, about, Hindu society, is it oppressive? They made a compilation of the kind of questions which their children face and gave it to Swamiji and said, Swamiji, this is what our children need. We need Gita and we need Upanishads, but we also need this practical thing. And either you teach or you invite Rajiv Malhotra to teach, but somebody has to teach. You can't say कि हम सिखाएंगे नहीं है. So then I was told the Swamiji has said, okay, you can invite him. So I said, I'm not going to come until he calls me and invites me because I don't want to be unwelcome. And he invited me and I went there. So I think this can be done. You put enough pressure. Pressure has to go from the disciples and devotees of an Hindu organization. If the devotees of Sri Sri and Jaggi Vasudev and Mata Amrita Mai and Ramakrishna Mission, all these places, go to their gurus and say that our culture, our children, our youth need guidance more than just what is written in the old Shastras. We have to bring new Dharma Shastra. We have to create Dharma Shastra for modern Bharat, which means a Veda-based constitution has to be created. A Veda-based constitution has to be created. The constitution we have is not Veda-based. It is actually 90%, I don't know how many of you know, that British created this Act of 1935 or something. And 90% of our constitution वहाँ है कॉपी की हुई है. हमने बड़े फाउंडिंग फादर्स, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अकेडमी, ये लोग उनको बढ़ा रखा है, but 90% they just copy वहाँ से. It is true. So I'm actually doing a paper on that. I'm going to write a paper on what is wrong with the constitution, what are things to fix. I'm in enough trouble already, but I don't care. I'll write all this. Maybe the Supreme Court will put something on me, but I'm not worried about it. So I feel that gurus have done a great job of spreading our meditation and various ideas, but not done a good job of either establishing identity कि ये हमारी संस्कृति से निकाल, you cannot separate it from our Sanskriti. A lot of them want to separate this knowledge and these practices from our Sanskriti and put it into Islam, Christianity, Judaism, secularism, neuroscience, all of that. But you cannot separate it from the Shastras, and here is why. They have to argue that, and I'm arguing that you cannot. Okay. And second thing that they haven't done is get into the realm of social, political, public policy issues, because why is there no commentary on NEP? Why haven't they said that NEP mein the social science and humanity has nothing to do with Vedas, it's all Western Marxist thought? Why haven't our adhikaris come and criticized it? They're not even informed about it. I must say they're not even informed about it, because one or two of the gurus called me, I don't want to name, but a very famous guru that we all know, called me and said, ये NEP हो रहा है, आपका भी endorse करो ये वो. I tried to wriggle out of it. I don't want to endorse NEP because it has a lot of problems. ये gurus का काम जो है, you have to put pressure on gurus also.
Good morning, sir. As you say, cultural Marxism divided in haves and haves not. Regarding this, my questions. In India, secular meaning is Sarva Dharma Samabhav. That means treat all regions in equal manner. So why does the government levy a large amount of thousands of crores fees only on temples? And my second question is, in India, minority status is given on the basis of religion and language, manner to population. So why Hindus are not given minority status in Nagaland?
Both very good questions. So first of all, the British, in order to divide and rule, came up with this temples policy that the civil servants in the British time will administer the temples. After independence, we should have got rid of all that. But we haven't. Even now. But there is a problem. Our problem. Problem ye hai. I used to work with Swami Dayanand Saraswati very closely before he passed away, long time, on this whole temple thing. And Swamiji told me once that I can go and get this change like that, but we don't know who will organize, who will run the temples. Our own people are divided. So, some of the temple priests want to run it, some political Hindu group want to run it. So who will run? There is a Waqf board for Muslims. There is Sikhs have their thing. The World Council of Churches, and the churches report to the headquarters in Europe. Koi Methodist Church reports to Methodist headquarters. The Catholic Church reports to Catholic headquarters. Unke the foreign headquarters, and they are multinational. Churches are multinationals with foreign headquarters, and Indian Church reports like a branch office. वो तो उनकी तो बात है. So who will take over so many lakhs and lakhs of Hindu mandirs? Where will it report? Who will be in charge? Because amount of money coming in there. Amount of money is so huge. So we have to prevent corruption. Somebody has to decide ये पैसा कहाँ खर्च होगा. who will be in charge of spending all this budget. It'll be monumental. You can start universities, you can start think tanks, you can start media more than BBC and more than Al Jazeera. You can start Hindu media. You can do what I am doing. You can hire 1,000 people like that to go around doing all this stuff. इतना बहुत कुछ हो सकता है if we have the money from the temples. लेकिन जहाँ पर पैसा होता है वहाँ पर लड़ाइयाँ भी होती हैं, करप्शन भी होती है. So the question that Swami ji said is, who is going to be the keeper of this Hindu? तो अभी तक वो फैसला नहीं हो चुका Hindus में. So there is a proposal to create a structure for every state. Each state will have its own Hindu organization and the temples will go into that organization, local, every place. फिर वो structure का कौन appoint करेगा? You don't want infiltration of all the secularists and leftists. वो भी बदमाशी कर सकते हैं. So there are a lot of issues like that which need to be sorted out. What was the second question? Nagaland. Hindus minority. So the question of, first of all, the idea of minority is a bogus idea. Muslims are a global majority. And now in the age of globalization, borders, national borders don't matter. Money moves forward, back and forth globally, yeah, and the ideology moves around. So you may be a minority in one town, but you're part of a global majority. Now suppose there is a McDonald's restaurant which hires 10 people. Would you say this is a minority restaurant, or would you say this is a mighty global majority? It is one of the biggest companies in the world, right? You don't say कि local area में वो minority है, 10 लोग हैं. What you have to say is कि they are bigger than any other restaurant chain, any other food chain in the whole world. So वो तो majority है. How can we believe कि minority है? Right? So, if you say कि CNN, mighty CNN has come, they open office here with 20 people, you can't say the minority हो गया, तो 20 ही लोग हैं इनके. You see, you have to look at the enterprise in a global context. If you look at enterprise in a global context, neither Christians are a minority nor Muslims are a minority. They outnumber Hindus globally. So that is one argument, that they are not a minority. Okay. Second is that Hindus, एक तरफ से तो वो कहते हैं कि there is no Hinduism, it consists of many groups. If it consists of many groups, each of them is a minority. Each of them is a minority. If you say there is no one Hinduism, हमारे को ये क्रिटिसाइज करते हैं कि कितने सारे गॉड्स गॉडेसेस हैं, कितने सारे गुरुज हैं, क्या क्या ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं. देयर इज नो सच थिंग एज हिंदुइज्म. दे समटाइम्स से दैट. हमको जब गाली देनी होती है जैसे हिंदुइज्म एग्जिस्ट्स टू बी अ टारगेट ऑफ criticism. Hinduism doesn't exist otherwise for rights. It doesn't have rights because it doesn't really exist. So it's all nonsense, And then you look at not only Nagaland, you look at Kashmir. Why are the Kashmiri Hindus not considered officially a minority? And why is there not restrictions on the majority for oppressing the minority? If you want to follow critical race theory of oppressor oppressed and give minority rights, then you have to also take to task where we are a minority. तो वो तो होता नहीं है. So I think all this requires rethinking, and we are doing it in our best way with the help of all you young people. I'm so impressed by you, and we should keep arguing and keep raising our voice until it is heard. And believe me, there is a difference in the last 30 years. 30 साल पहले I couldn't say all this because I would be stopped. I could not go to a Hindu temple in North America because they would say कि ये तो डर की बात क्या बोलेंगे वो. Now they want to invite. I don't have enough time to go. So the things have changed. So don't feel that it is hopeless. I'm critical only because I'm running out of time. I want things in a hurry. I want us to do well. But things have improved in the last 30 years. It's just that the speed is very slow, but we have a long way to go.
We are so fortunate to see you both sharing the same stage. We call you the Building India Forces, attacking the Breaking India Forces. So my question is, who or what, according to you, is ill-treating us Indians? Is it the Western society or the Western media or the Britishers, or is it our own government? Or is it our own education system reflecting into the NCRTs, Indian NCRTs? So until when we are going to point out the fingers at the Britishers for anything wrongdoing to us? We have lost the opportunity 75 years back. So again, my two supplementary questions are do you believe in the perception that we are always reactive than being proactive always? And second question, we have seen your photos with the Prime Minister of India. So what exactly are you expecting from the Indian government in the recent time?
Very good questions. I think we have to, historically, something may have caused our problems, but what to do now is in our hands. You have to, there is no excuse. You cannot go, you cannot, on the one hand, be inviting all these foreign consultants to make policies and then going on blaming कि वो colonized हम हैं, colonized थे. आप तो अभी भी काम उन्हीं से करवा रहे हो. Why? Just because the person representing Ernst & Young or Deloitte or McKinsey happens to be a brown-skinned Indian doesn't mean कि वो Indian बात होगी. These, the American companies are very clever. They hire Indians, pay them American salary, but they hire Indians very carefully who are aligned with their ideology. And they hire those Indians. And so they are Hindu names. And so you think कि हिंदू ही होगा हमारे आदमी है वहाँ, but the point is नौकरी तो वहाँ की कर रहे हैं ना. He is loyal to that organization. So we are our responsibility. We have to get rid of foreign consultants for sensitive in a matter of some technology, medical help and all. Yeah, they can help us. But when it comes to policy making on social justice, social reform, we have to have our own think tanks and not foreign think tanks. एक तो ये करना चाहिए. ये हमारे हाथ में है. NCRT, it is a shame that so many years have gone by and we have not changed the books. UPSC changed very slow, too slow. They should have wiped off the UPSC commission, put new people. UGC making all these policies about foreign universities should have been changed by now. Problem ye hai, the new government does not have enough deep scholarship people. वो पैदा करने पड़ेंगे. We do not have the intellectual rigor. We do not have numbers. Some of you should pursue this career. You should pursue a career to get an advanced degree from our own point of view, our own ideology, and then pursue a career as a public intellectual, either in academics or government, in IAS type of thing, or in media, but somewhere that you can exert influence over the public. You people have to do that because I see you are good raw material. And unless young people take this into their own hands, ऊपर से कुछ नहीं होने वाला. This is the problem. I fully sympathize with you.
Sir, this is the era of AI, artificial intelligence. Sir, do you think in any time in future, AI can replace human consciousness? And this AI can be used to break the collective consciousness of India?
There are two questions. The word consciousness has to be understood. And in this book, chapter 4 or 5 is on this issue of consciousness versus intelligence. Intelligence can be without consciousness and consciousness can be without intelligence. They are two separate things. For example, if there is a car driving itself, driverless car, it has to be intelligent because it's making choices कि अब ये मोड़ो, यहाँ करो, ये करो. So the algorithm is intelligent. A robot is driving a car, it is intelligent, but it is not conscious. Without being conscious, mechanically it's able to make decisions, right? So that is an example of unconscious intelligence. Unconscious intelligence. You can also have the other way around. You can have a conscious entity that's not very smart. I mean, there are some stupid people. वो conscious तो है. Conscious तो है ना. You can't say वो conscious ही नहीं है. Yeah, conscious है but very stupid, not very intelligent. So you can have unintelligent conscious entities. After all, there are some entities जो बहुत छोटी conscious. They are conscious but intelligence is very low. Then they evolve. I mean, गधे को भी consciousness तो है. He's conscious. So the two are separate things. So my personal take is no matter how much artificial intelligence there can be, it is not going to be conscious. Because consciousness is sort of self-reflection, awareness, conscious, pran. You need pran, you need chit, you need shakti. So if you look at our Vedic metaphysics, what it takes to be a conscious entity is not mechanical behavior like an intelligent entity. You can replicate intelligence, you cannot replicate consciousness. This is my take on it. Although a lot of people think कि अभी consciousness, artificial consciousness आने वाली है. Artificial consciousness is very different than artificial intelligence. They're two different things. Now the second question is, do you think that AI will be able to overrule the collective, let's say collective intelligence of all Indians? Yes, because AI is smart in terms of understanding, becoming smarter and smarter. We are training GPT to outsmart us, because every time we give feedback to GPT, it learns us, understands how we think, how to make us happy, how to make us cry. GPT is getting smarter and smarter because we are training GPT. हम उनका काम, we are doing free coaching. अब he does coaching for you people. All of you are coaching the American GPT. आप भी coach लगे हुए हैं. But you are doing it free and they control everything and they can use it against you. आप अपनी languages भी उनको सिखा रहे हैं. So they can infiltrate more, they can monitor, they can do data mining and understand all your problems, all the jatis, how to make you fight each other. कौन किससे लड़ाई करेगा, कौन कहाँ का लीडर है, उसको ये वाला मीम बताओ तो वो मानेगा तुम्हारी बात, किसको पॉलिटिकली कन्वर्ट कर सकते हो, किसको रिलीजन में उसके अगेंस्ट करवा सकते हो. All this psychological manipulation and emotional manipulation, it becomes more and more possible as the GPT becomes more and more intelligent. And so we are doing that. So I think the being able to outsmart the Indian thinking is a matter of dividing each people. It's a matter, so in that sense, they can outperform a politician giving a speech. The GPT can make up the kind of speech which will have a lot of appeal. And once this GPT, and I'm just using GPT as an example, but there are a lot of these kind of algorithms coming out. GPT is from the OpenAI, which Microsoft controls. They put in $10 billion to control it. There are similar things from many of the big companies. India में नहीं है. We do not have our own Dharma GPT or some kind of a Bharatiya GPT जो हमारा प्लेटफॉर्म है, जो हम ट्रेन करेंगे और वही हमारे वॉइस को एम्पलीफाई करेगा, multiply, it will be a force multiplier of our thinking. We don't have that. So my big concern about India's AI policy is that we have got one of the world's largest groups number numerically of AI trained engineers. We have a lot of them. And we have them very brilliant ones, but the technology they're developing is not Indian owned. It is owned by Microsoft or IBM or Apple or Google or somebody else, you see. So using our brains to enhance the technology of other people is not very smart. It is not good national policy. So this is one of the issues I've raised in this artificial intelligence and the future of power. It's a policy book. I'm talking about policy wise क्या उसमें issues हैं, and I'm glad that young people here are interested. But back to your question, I think yes, artificial intelligence will be able to outsmart and outwit the collective intelligence of billion people by understanding them, creating भेद and figuring out कि ये यहाँ का रहने वाला है, इसकी ये लैंग्वेज है, उसकी वो जाति है, उसका वो रिलीजन है, तो उनको आपस में कैसे लड़ाई करवानी है, क्या करवाना है. This is like an AI version of the East India Company. The East India Company did all this with human beings. Imagine now algorithm can do these kind of things. East India Company did not come with a big army of lakhs of people to defeat India. They did not defeat India based on that. They defeated India based on cunning, using Indian sepoys against each other. You see, that is the whole thing.
Sir, as a common citizen, how should we deal with this caste and religious consciousness, which are the most prominent factors in dividing India? So, how should we deal with it?
So, I have a short 150-page book to answer this. It's a toolkit for Varna, Jati, Caste, a toolkit. Uska yehi naam hai, and it's available there. Read it and get involved in, we're going to create, if you are interested, if there's enough interest, we can organize together, we can organize some sort of a course or some kind of a program that students can take, and then we can do some online kind of coaching. We can also get involved through Zoom, and maybe once a year or so I can come also and do something here. It will be very good. Aapne jo question kiya, it shows that people are interested. These are serious subjects and we should invest in it together. I thank you for the question. Basically, he wants to know what's the difference between the Breaking India 1 and Breaking India 2. ब्रेकिंग इंडिया 1 में एक लेवल थिंकिंग थी, वो हमको तोड़ना चाहते थे यूजिंग सर्टन स्ट्रैटेजी, अब और बढ़ा दी उन्होंने. The difference as I see it is Breaking India 1 was at the grassroots, going to poor people, uneducated people, villagers, unko how to compromise them, convert them, and they were not targeting Niti Aayog or Planning Commission. They were not targeting corporate people, top corporate CEOs in Delhi. They were not targeting the elite, and they were not targeting people who are in IAS and so on. You know, they were not targeting those. They were targeting जो lower strata है लोग हैं, उनको exploit किया जाए, उनको convert करके make them anti-India. That is what it was. Now, the weapon is how to take on the elites of India, the top industrialists, the top business thinking people, and the IAS people, bureaucrats, people like that. So, because the target is different, therefore, the theory is also being different to apply to this new target. That is the reason. And the weapons are different. And the reason Harvard has become important is, पहले तो Harvard की, if you are going to go after villagers, they don't care about Harvard, don't know what is Harvard, क्या Harvard है. If you go to a village and you want to convert him or do some Maoism, you tell him about Harvard, he doesn't make any impact, correct? But if you want to convert the thinking of top-level Indians, well-educated class of people, then Harvard is the number one ideology, brand name. So this is where the institution has changed. It is Harvard, and the ideology has changed because this new ideology is something that young people like a lot. Unke liye environment, social justice, diversity, equity, inclusion, these are very nice things. They sound very nice. So these are ways of getting into the minds and hearts of elitist, highly educated young people, whether they're in government or in business or in anything. That is what is fundamentally different between BI 1.0 and BI 2.0. Thank you, Ji.
When we study world history, one thing in the rise of Marxism that stands out again and again is that there were very few people who, like you would say, they were very conscious of what they were doing, and they were looking to break India with full consciousness, mens rea, guilty mind. Most of the people, they are what Lenin would call useful idiots.
Yes.
They just get carried away with the romanticism of Marxism, not realizing what they're doing. So how do we argue with such people? How do we change their minds? Because in their mind, they are not anti-India at all. Their idea of India itself is flawed. I have realized that it's very difficult to try to convince such people, because if we use the Greek philosophy of ethos, pathos and logos, you can use all the logic and rationality you want, but somehow the emotional appeal always lacks.
So you see, because that group of people, the useful idiot left wing, are not one group but many kind of people. So you need many kind of solutions also. Some of them, I think, are totally misinformed about facts of history. Because when I sit down and argue with them, they are surprised. They've been told that India was a backward country and therefore we have to bring progress from overseas. And I tell them that Infinity Foundation published 14 volumes on the history of Indian science and technology. 14 volumes, you can go online and buy it. So this shows that there was a huge amount of science and technology long before the Europeans had it. So you can't say कि हम पहले ही backward थे. Colonization के कारण हम backward बन गए. But we were also very rich. They don't have these facts. So one is you give them facts of history which are different than what they've been told, which talk about the pre-colonial India. The pre-colonial India was not like a poor country begging for help and all that. Okay, so quite a few people get convinced with that once you give them. They're logical type people, those who are logical. Then those who are not logical, they are saying, okay, jo bhi tha, sab tha, abhi we are backward in terms of the way we are treating people and all that. So they are looking for an emotional answer. So there what I tell them is, America hasn't solved these problems for themselves. Apne ghar mein ye problem nahi solve hua, how can they solve problem for other countries? If you look at where all they've Christianized Mexico, kya ho gaya wahan? They have Christianized Philippines. You know, if you look at the non-Western world which has Christianized, they have not become suddenly very rich. They have not become suddenly very high social justice. I mean, you look at all the drugs people in Mexico. You look at where their formula has been accepted. It has not done well. So why should we accept a formula? Why should ऐसा हम इलाज लेते हैं डॉक्टर से जिसका इलाज किसी और के ऊपर नहीं चला और अपने ऊपर भी नहीं चल सका. They have not been able to solve the problems of crime in the inner cities of United States, their own social justice problems, racism problems. The black churches are very separate from the white churches. Even Christianity is divided by race. So, if you give them these facts, our people don't know the facts. This is why I'm writing all this stuff, because I want our people to have facts. So, lot of our people are intelligent, they are misinformed, they come from parents where parents themselves don't know anything. वैसे ही parents भी उनको ही, and a large part of our problem is that the children are being raised by media, by Bollywood, by Netflix, the fashion of the social media जो भी बोला जा रहा है. So we have to take some control over these things. We got to create our own Vedic friendly media. We have not got it. I'm not talking about Astha channel and all. I'm talking about Al Jazeera is a very good example where they're not talking about Islam all the time. They're talking about cricket match. They're talking about environmentalism, about protecting tigers. I mean, they're talking about all kind of issues all over the world. They're talking about geopolitics. They're not talking about Islam all the time. वो तो just one little part. But there is that orientation, that ideological spin is there. We need sophisticated. That requires very sophisticated people. So we have to have not people who are in the face कि हम हिंदू हैं बोल रहे हैं, हम भाषण दे रहे हैं, हम प्रवचन दे रहे हैं. It's not like that. It has to be very sophisticated people who take over this new kind of media. And this requires deep pockets. These things require billions of dollars now. It's not a small scale industry to launch media. So I would say media, Netflix type of things, education system. Until we take control of these, one person here, there, you can't solve a problem by trying to convince them.
I am happy that there are so many hands raised. It proves that after our session on 14th of February, many of you sincerely read Rajivji's works, thought about it. Many of you have also seen various videos that are there on the Infinity Foundation channel, and the process will continue. I'm happy to see so many hands raised, and at the same time, I'm sorry there is a time limit for this session, but you know that our pursuit of this knowledge and the fight to win will continue. So I'm taking this opportunity to come to the last question. I'm making a choice of one particular question because I'm happy to read that question. With that, we will almost automatically sum up this session and then say our prayer, only to meet in the evening again, and then continue our organized efforts further. This question is, don't you think we should create an Indian yoga university from where people around the world who want to be yoga instructors should be verified and given degree by such university? In that sense, we can counter cultural appropriation. Before I hand over to Rajivji, I just want to take this opportunity to say what most of you know and remember, that actually Chanakya Mandal's dream is to develop a full-scale, world-class university based on Bharatiya thinking and Bharatiya philosophy. So we want to head in that direction. It is in that light also this question has almost spontaneously come up. I request Rajivji to respond, which also will be like a concluding comment on this session. After that, we will say our prayer.
This is a great question. One of the works that I'm going to publish is 10 volumes on the theory of digestion, which is about digesting yoga into the Western, digesting meditation, digesting a lot of our Ayurveda is getting digestive. मतलब वो हड़प कर रहे हैं, वो हमारी चीज़ को खाकर अपना बना लेते हैं और हमको भूल जाते हैं और कहते हैं कि आपको you don't matter anymore. So Sanskrit got digested, Sanskrit language got digested to create European grammar in the 1800s. Okay, and then they started banning संस्कृत को ban कर दो, but हमारे से लेकर. So this way you will find botany, Indian contributions to botany, mathematics, astronomy, so many areas, philosophy, including impact on Christianity. I'm writing that also, 3 volumes on the impact on Christianity. So you see, our tradition is getting digested. Now one of the things currently being digested is yoga. In New York, there is something called Yoga Alliance. It's run by white people. They're all of them, one Hindu name, but this lady is just there for token. She's not supporting us. She's just a Hindu by name, but not necessarily by practice. So this Yoga Alliance is coming up with world standards, and they're certifying yoga teachers, and they're lobbying with the World Health Organization on creating a global standard. And India has invited World Health Organization to come here and set up a yoga standard. What a foolish thing! वो हमारी चीज़ है. Chinese people did not ask World Health Organization to come and standardize Chinese medicine. वो तो Chinese medicine तो उन्होंने अपने आप निकाली, standardize किया, हज़ारों colleges में पढ़ाया, certification दी, and then they told World Health Organization that this is Chinese medicine, तुम लोग यही promote करो. You see, so the control of standard is so important. So in the case of yoga, yes, it is absolutely important that we have to control this. But unfortunately, they have a yoga week every year in Rishikesh. Parmat Niketan funds it, organizes it, and this Gayatri Pariwar वाले लोग जो हैं उनकी भी एक वहाँ यूनिवर्सिटी है, उसमें लोग काफ़ी आते हैं. So this goes on for a long time. Every year it's been going on for quite a while, and every year I've told them that you are celebrating and giving honor to leaders of the Western world who are teaching yoga in the wrong way. आप उन लोगों को भाव दे रहे हैं, but their logic is कि नहीं इनको भाव देंगे तो हमारे को फ़ायदा होगा, we'll become famous. अपनी fame को, अपने आप को world stage पर लाने के लिए we are compromising the standard. So we have to have an Indian institution who says for the first 5-10 years, I don't care Westerners क्या बोलते हैं, अपना पहले यहाँ पर अधिकार अपना डट के यहाँ पर create a standard in India for Indians and get a lot of medical people, gurus, public people, university people involved and create a standard and create one big university. I would be very happy to get involved in this. And once we are practicing our own standard, then we go to the others and say, "Bhi, हमारा standard तुमको भी follow करना होगा." And believe me, they will respect it, because once we show strength in ourselves, then they will also respect us. Thank you very much, all of you. Namaste. बहुत बढ़िया.